You're listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Play ball, everybody. Play ball. Play ball. All right. I really didn't think we were going to do the whole thing.
Ryan Watkins says, thank God you guys have day jobs.
You can't start singing the national anthem and then stop.
That's a good point.
bad form.
That is bad form.
And also, I really wanted to do it. So.
That was Justin's baby.
Yes, it was.
I wasn't going to, though.
I didn't think you were unless you had some encouragement. So I decided
appreciate
to
it. I thought it
give
was
you
a
the
little
nudge.
disrespectful that you didn't stand.
But
But also, I know that you were nervous about the words.
you saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't want to be that person. And you saw the pause. Yeah. I apologize.
Well, we're back.
And I had my hat on. Oh, I'm the worst.
We're
You
back.
really are.
Daniel Hates America.
Hey.
That's Daniel Hargrove. I'm Justin Domashevitz, our trusty producer. Andrew Gross also here with us. And this is The Scrimmage.
Yes, it is.
This is the Northwest sports version. We're going to talk a little bit of Seahawks and a little bit of college football.
Probably won't last long.
Not too long. No, it's going to be pretty short. And then we're going to have a little break so Daniel can pee.
Yep.
And then we're going to talk about local sports. There's a lot of stuff that's happened. We haven't had a show in a few weeks, and so we have a lot of things to talk about.
Yep.
But first, let's get it going with the 2-minute drill.
Boom.
Let's go, huddle up. Gotta hurry. Hey, 2-minute situation, 44 seconds, hand the ball to the ref. Gonna do it right. 3 jet Buckeye, don't worry.
The 2-minute drill starts now.
Despite currently being in the NFC's 7th playoff spot, the Seattle Seahawks need a win over the Rams next week and a Packers loss to earn a postseason berth. Daniel, how likely is that to happen?
I think they'll beat the Rams. This season has gone so different from what I predicted. What did I predict? 3 wins, 4 wins?
You said 4.
I predicted poopy poop butt soup. Instead, It's been fun to watch before this last stretch where they lost a ton of games. The Packers have won 4 in a row since starting 4-8, and the Lions won the first meeting 15-9, which is disgusting.
It's a gross football game.
But the Lions also destroyed their last opponent, the Bears.
The Bears.
Is it? I think it's possible.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I think it's going to happen. Seahawks are going to make the playoffs. Sadly, though, actually, you know what? The Jordan Brooks news makes a big influence here because now Cody Barton is going to be your only middle linebacker. Sticking with NFL playoff scenarios, Justin, the Titans still have a shot to win the AFC South despite losing their last 6 games. What?
Yeah, they were 7-3.
The league's bad.
Tennessee will face Jacksonville this week for the division crown. What are the
As
chances?
we all predicted.
What are the chances they can still pull it off?
The Titans stink. Jacksonville's good. Trevor Lawrence is finally looking like the quarterback that he was projected to be, despite having a subpar rookie season. I'm going to say the Titans have sold. They're not going to make the playoffs. You're going to see the Jacksonville Jaguars win the AFC South after starting 4-8.
Wow.
College football bowl season has been fairly successful for the Pac-12 conference, including Oregon State's dominant win over an SEC team and Washington's Alamo Bowl victory over Texas. At the time of this show, the Pac-12's only bowl losses are UCLA to Pitt and WSU to Fresno State. Daniel, despite not getting a team into the college football playoff, has this been a good season overall for the Pac-12 conference?
I mean, in the view of me, yes. Not in the view of people who do who only care about college football playoff, right? Because if you don't have somebody in there, then that means your league isn't good enough. But really all that means is our league's better than yours, top to bottom, and we don't just have patty cakes that you can roll over most of the time and get up for 3 games a year and make it into the college football playoff like Georgia.
Yeah.
Well done. Good timing, sir.
That's the 2-minute drill.
Andrew's starting the year off with a bang. Nailed it.
When does the college football playoff expand? Is it next year or this?
Does it expand
is it this coming year or the year after? Yeah, they're expanding it to
8 teams?
8 teams, I believe, which is a decent number. I'm not gonna. You won't hear me complaining about a 9th team being left out of the college playoff.
I like 12.
I
wouldn't
complain about 12 either.
The reason I like 12 as opposed to 8 is then you have tiers of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because everyone's still going to try to fight for the top 4 spots because the top 4 spots get a bye.
Exactly.
And then everyone will fight for the next 4 spots because then you get to host.
Yeah.
And then the bottom 8, I mean, you get 12 teams in, there's going to be a lot of good football played. Also, it's not, I don't know if it's as true this year as it has been in previous years, but usually there are 1 or 2 teams that are way better than everybody.
Yep.
And if you have 4 teams not playing in the first round, you avoid all that in the first round.
Exactly.
And you can have, often I think the 5th best team in the country will be pretty close to the 12th best team in the country and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I think you get better football. You still get that whole teams are playing for something late in the season. I think it makes for a good regular season and a good play.
Yeah, and you get the teams are playing for something at the beginning of the season.
Right,
So
exactly.
they are expanding to 12 teams in time for the 24 and 25 seasons.
I like it.
That's the actual announcement. So they are.
So not this coming year, but the year after?
Yes, I believe that would be the year after this coming year. They will be expanding to 12.
Good.
like
That's
it.
a good number.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think they need to mess with that. Like, I think they will have finally got it right. This year is kind of a bummer just because the Pac-12 didn't get their team in. But honestly, I mean, with the 4-team format, who would you pick to go in? I guess Utah would have been the best option because they won the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a dominant team. Oregon tried to gack it up against North Carolina, but then finally figured it out and was like, you know what, North Carolina's not actually that good. And then they beat them. I'm sorry, but...
Well, they're not actually that good. And also, they had, like, mass exodus in the transfer portal. So there was, like... I want to say it was like 8 defensive starters were not playing in that game. I think Oregon should be embarrassed that it was as close as it was. If I'm
Really?
being honest.
Yeah, and that they had to make a last-second comeback to do it. Like, it was crazy. I was watching that game. Still rooting, even though I wanted the Pac-12 to do well since all these teams are bouncing, and this has been like a pretty good year for the Pac-12 overall, which is really frustrating. But I was still rooting for Oregon to lose because... they're the Ducks.
I think I saw on Twitter that North Carolina football this year is the first team in Division I history to start 9-0 and then finish 0-5.
Ooh, that's not good.
It was pretty bad.
You know what's crazy? Speaking of the transfer portal, did you see who Oregon State got?
Yes. DJ Ualunga.
I don't know how to say it. I still don't.
Lalele.
Yeah, I don't know how to
DJ
say his last
Ukulele.
name. You watch his highlights?
You watch his highlights and it's like Mele Kaliki Maka, man.
And what did I say all year about the Beavers?
They didn't have a quarterback.
They didn't
They're
have a
really good.
quarterback.
They can run the ball. Their defense is good. They don't have a quarterback.
Yes. And not only they ran the ball better than I thought they could because they just against the second half against the Ducks, they were like, "Hey, you know what we're going to do? Run." Aren't you going to pass once? No. And they completed a comeback doing that. So now that they have a quarterback who not only is a much better throwing quarterback than we've had, I've heard that he's had some issues with that, but also we're losing what I call our jackhammer, Coletto, who's our guy who was recruited to be a quarterback, turned into a linebacker, and then comes in to run Tebow formations pretty much. This dude is a guy that can run like that too.
Yeah.
So
and he was like, he didn't do well for Clemson this year.
He did okay though, right?
But I think it was that he didn't measure up to the expectation. I think
That's
he's still a good player. He's highly respected, highly thought of, and thought of as like a really high potential guy.
And he's still got 2 years left.
And also he has previously played well in high leverage situations.
Well, even this year, you look at his numbers and it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's not Clemson expectations. Right. And they had a hot shot freshman. They're like, hey, let's go with this guy in the last game.
And he gets to stay in orange. Like that, the color must have been a factor.
Just a win-win-win.
But I think you get, like, when you go from like a white and orange to a black and orange, it feels stronger.
Oh, yeah.
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 It's a stronger color scheme.
Absolutely. Anyway, so I'm excited. And I think the Pac-12, I mean, Fresno State was really good in their league, right? Like, Fresno State was thought of as, like, one of those teams that I think they ended up losing a game or so. And so that kind of knocked him out from being one of those teams that everybody talked about, like how Boise State always is. But they were really good. And so Wazoo at what, like 7-6 or whatever they were, 6-5, like they squeaked into bowl eligibility.
But so they were still better than anticipated.
Yeah, so the fact that they lost to Fresno State wasn't too big of a surprise. UCLA. Okay, they only lost 4? Okay.
They lost to Oregon State, USC, UConn, and Boise State.
Wazoo lost to UConn?
No. I'm sorry. I was talking about the Fresno State Bulldogs.
Oh. Okay. Oh, that's more than I thought. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was sorry.
Okay, so it's a little worse than I thought it was.
I mean, they lost to Oregon State and USC. Both of those are really good teams, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are both top 15 in the final rankings. So.
Yep. So that one hurts a little bit more. And UCLA I hate because Chip Kelly's there, so.
But you got to be thrilled with where Oregon State landed in the final rankings and in their bowl game by comparison to what you thought this team. Because we talked about it at the beginning of the year, and you were like, I think this team could be pretty good.
Yeah.
And they end up being a top 15 team in the nation.
Yeah.
And proving that they could just ram the ball down Oregon's throat when they wanted to, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and then they get... Okay. Should I be happy that they got Florida and just absolutely demolished them? Or should I be a little upset that they gave us a 6-6 SEC team to just punch in the face repeatedly? Like... I don't want it. I don't want there to be an example like a boxing match where the other guy sucks. Like that's what it was.
It's like Cody Barton.
They scored their.
You have 2 middle linebackers, but one of them sucks.
Yeah, there was 2 football teams on the field, but one of them sucked.
I think
and Oregon State just repeatedly just punched him in the face, and then you gave
literally and figuratively.
You gave him a field goal in garbage time to make him feel good that they didn't get shut out. But I was like, why did we get Florida?
It's a perfect example of what you're saying, though, when we're saying that the Pac-12 is a really deep conference.
Yeah.
Like, it's the middle of the road SEC team. That must be so good because the SEC is so good, right?
Yeah.
No. They're trash.
Exactly.
If they're not at the top of the SEC, they're trash.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm glad we treated them like trash. We didn't go, mess around. Oh, it's a bowl game. We were distracted this whole week, and it's a close game. We were like, no, you're trash, and we're going to treat you like trash. And we are kind of upset that you got a garbage time field goal, so we didn't get the shutout.
Yeah.
Because you're a garbage SEC team. And I'm also kind of happy that Ohio State lost, but... also kind of bummed. That's a mixed feelings reaction there.
That was.
Because I don't like Ohio State, but I also like upsets.
Well, I was not rooting for Ohio State. I was rooting against Georgia.
Yeah.
And in the same way that I would root against any SEC powerhouse.
Yeah.
Not any particular ill will towards Georgia.
Yeah.
but just the SEC powerhouse teams, I always want to see them go down.
Exactly.
So I was definitely rooting Ohio State, even though I don't like the Buckeyes.
What was it? Go Horn. Is this the Horn Frog? What? Don't the Horn Frogs have a weird hand signal or something? Like, because this is like the Texas Longhorns. So I feel like Texas Christian was.
Is it this one? No, not that one.
No, that's Wichita State.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, how about them Seahawks?
Well, we're going to talk Seahawks.
Oh.
And we're going to take a commercial break.
Oh.
Before we take a commercial break, we need to do my favorite part of the show.
Serving questions up on a silver platter where the points are made up and the rules don't matter. Time for Stump Daniel.
Oh, no.
Daniel, one question today.
I don't like one question times.
13 teams in the NFL have been eliminated from playoff contention.
Oh, it's a large question.
One of those teams has with being eliminated this year, has extended the NFL's longest current playoff drought. Do you know which team it is?
I do.
Okay.
I feel a little bummed out that I saw this graphic pop up.
Okay.
He's been watching.
Not been watching. I tuned in at the right time, apparently. It is your Jets, Jets. I thought they were good at the beginning of the year.
They were, yeah.
What the heck happened?
Bad. They're bad.
They're the Jets.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They're just bad. They're worse than the Lions, which is shocking.
Yeah, that is shocking. But also the Jets are bad.
How do you know that you're bad? You're worse than the Lions.
Yeah, fair. That's good. That's like the Mendoza line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jets are the Mariners of football.
The Jets have not made the playoffs since 2010. It is the longest active drought in the NFL. They were forced out of playoff contention by your Seattle Seahawks.
Take it.
With what felt like it was a pretty dominant win.
It was so dominant.
It's not. You remembered something that popped up on the screen.
Yeah.
As did I. And that's all we have for Stump Daniel this week. It is brought to you by the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz.
What's the A stand for?
No relation.
Gotcha.
We did that backwards. Let's try again. It's brought to you by the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz. No relation.
What's the A stand for?
And we are going to do a little bit of Seahawk talk to close out this Northwest Sports podcast.
Yes.
But first, let's have a quick word from our sponsors.
Do you have a legal situation and need someone on your side?
Yes.
Let the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz be your advocate. If you've been the victim of medical malpractice, suffered a personal injury, or need representation with real estate law, small business law, or estate planning, let Jeff Damashevitz put his 29 years of experience to work for you. Call Jeff Damashevitz today at 360-612-3991 or visit damashevitzlaw.com. That's DAMASIEWICZLAW.com.
Thank you again to our sponsors, the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz.
To change it.
Okay.
You called it RF.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I decided to MF it. So if you're hearing that, I apologize. I understand it's a little unpleasant. We will try to keep it to a minimum.
Yep.
Do the best we can. And we got to talk about something that I think is a big deal. The Seahawks won.
Yeah.
They kept playoff hopes alive.
Absolutely.
Yet somehow I'm struggling to really, really care. So this is where we've kind of been, I think, in the same place for a lot of this football season. We entered the season with so little expectation that where normally we would be putting together charts and graphs about who was going to make the 53-man roster and who was going to be cut and paying super close attention to where we would know every player all the time, no matter what.
Yeah.
There's been several times this year that a guy makes a play, especially on the defensive side, and one of my kids will be like, "Who's that?" And I'll say, "I don't know," which never would have happened in the previous couple of years.
Right.
So we are not locked in.
No.
Like we have been.
That's true.
But this was a big win.
It was. And they played well.
Yeah.
And I like to see that the defense stepped up and played well. Wow, that's weird.
What is?
Oh, I was looking at the wrong Fant. Because I think...
Weren't their brothers playing?
I don't think they're brothers.
Oh,
But-
I heard somebody say they were, but I
But
could be wrong.
the Seahawks have the tight end, Fant,
and the Jets have the Fant that used to play for us on the offensive line who came up as a basketball player. And I was looking at the Seahawks stats, and it said that he had, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 40 yards. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they threw to an offensive lineman that many times, but I was looking at the wrong team. So, yeah, this team seems weird, right? Because we all come into it with the low expectations of a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
So we're pretty excited that they're 8-8 right now.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they were 8-8 last year? I mean, weren't they about that?
Yeah, I think didn't they finish 9-7?
We were ticked off. And now we're like 8-8. They got a chance to make the playoffs if somebody loses and we win.
Yeah, it's all about expectation.
All about expectation.
Well, we sat down before the season started, and we all tried to guess how many games they were going to win. Daniel, you said 4.
I was not optimistic.
I said 6. Andrew was the optimist, and he said 7.
Yeah.
I was pricer writing.
Well, you won.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Brand new car.
I think we all saw that coming.
Brand new car.
So they have
or
already-
a washing machine.
Even if they don't make the playoffs and if they don't win against the Rams this week, they have already exceeded all of our expectations.
And they've shown that they have talent going into a draft where they are going to have massive draft capital, which is exciting.
And they just had a really good draft.
Yeah.
So they had a really good draft, and now they're going to have really good picks in this next draft because they also have the Broncos picks.
Yeah.
And the Broncos ended up being terribad.
Absolutely. Can I say that I really hope they draft a middle linebacker?
High. I
Because
would like to see a first 2 round the middle
I don't
linebacker.
feel like middle linebackers go that high. It's
Probably
usually, if it's a defensive player, it's usually either a defensive lineman or an edge rusher.
Yeah.
What do you mean
I
by
guess
that high?
corners too. Well, like the Seahawks are going to have a top 5 pick.
Right.
He-
Okay. You meant
Andrew
first
was-
overall. I was saying I need to see a middle linebacker in the first
Two
okay.
rounds.
Yes.
2 rounds.
Yeah.
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 But
So-
you're right. I don't think middle linebacker is usually a
Like
good
ballpark of where they
first
where they
overall.
picked Brooks or Wagner.
Yeah, exactly. So Brooks just tore his ACL.
Yeah.
He'll probably not be back until... I mean, ACL recoveries are super fast now compared to what they are.
Yeah.
But I would
And
assume...
sometimes you can just play through them.
We'll get to that later.
I see you, Kale.
Yeah. We will probably not see Jordan Brooks back until at least partway through the season next year. And there's a good chance that he won't be quite the same guy until late in the season or the year after. Cody Barton's bad. And they play kind of 2 middle linebackers at the moment. So they need another middle linebacker.
Barton did make a really good play to blow up a screen.
What?
He took on, in this game, there was a play where he took on 2 blockers and got around the 2 blockers and forced the screen back inside where his teammates got a TFL. That was pretty cool.
That good for him.
But I think it was the only good thing I saw him do.
All I can say, everything I've heard, Cody Barton seems like a good dude.
He did have 6 tackles.
Yeah.
Second on the team to Tariq Woolen.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is a corner leading you in tackles?
That's weird. I mean, because it's not like their defense played bad.
No, their defense played well.
So that's weird that Woolen had 4 solo tackles and led him with 7. It's a little odd. It was a weird
I'd
statistical-
assume it. When did Brooks go out?
That's what I was... I mean, it had to be fairly early. He only had 4 tackles, and normally he's got like 16.
Andrew, do you remember when Brooks went out?
I do not.
I don't either, but I would imagine he would be leading the team in tackles if he had not gone out.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mainly bring up Barton, not because it's a major problem with this team that's not actually very good, but has a chance to make the playoffs. I just bring it up because I know that Ian will get upset.
Yeah. He likes to say that we rag on Cody Barton because he suffers from not being Joel DeBlanco.
Yes. Yeah. But, now with
Which
Jordan
I
Brooks
think we're-
hurt, they need to sign Joel DeBlanco.
True.
And
But
then they can have...
In an honest moment, I think we can admit that there's an element of that. But it's
Oh, yeah.
also, it doesn't affect the way that I watch Cody Barton and think he's bad.
Yeah. Like, if when I watch Seahawks games and when I watch their defense, I find myself only watching Cody Barton.
Yeah.
And then going, wow, that was bad. after every play. That's not me not knowing how to watch football. I mean, there's some of it where I don't know everything that's going on, but if I then start watching Jordan Brooks, I don't think, oh, that was bad after every play. I don't know. Anyway.
Did you think it was interesting?
They won. There's no reason for me. How about we talk about Kenneth Walker, who's an absolute freak show?
It actually leads perfectly into what I was going to ask you. Did you think it was interesting to watch two teams play against each other who either team could potentially have both rookies of the year?
Yeah.
Because the top two, in my eyes, the top two offensive rookies of the year are Kenneth Walker and the Jets receiver Garrett Wilson. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Who's having a phenomenal year, and he went over 1,000 yards on the season as a rookie, which is really impressive. Kenneth Walker is having a phenomenal year, and he's scored more than twice as many touchdowns. So, I mean, if that's a factor.
Yeah.
But also on the other side of the ball, you have Tariq Woolen and you have Sauce Gardner. And
one of them's name is Sauce.
Well, one of them's name is Sauce.
Is that really his name?
And the other one is the best defensive rookie in the league.
But so here's my thought on this, because I talked with my sons about this a lot, because they are beside themselves that Tariq Woolen doesn't get like all of the national attention like Sauce does.
Yeah.
Sauce was a first-round pick from a college football playoff team.
Yep.
And he plays in New York.
Yep.
And he's really good.
Yep.
But he doesn't have the picks, he doesn't have the turnovers forced like Tariq Woolen does.
Yeah.
And if you go back and you dig into things like, Tariq Woolen has, what does he have, 5 picks, 6 picks, something like that. He's also got a couple fumble recoveries.
Yeah.
But he's allowed 5 touchdowns. Sauce Gardner he leads the league in passes defensed. He only has a couple picks.
Yeah.
But he's allowed 0 touchdowns. And he also had the really high profile game where he held Justin Jefferson, who's been torching everybody all year, to 60 yards.
Except for this last week, Packers held him to not much too.
Right. So I think it's a contrast with those two guys. Do you take the guy with the 4.2 speed who forces the turnovers and makes all the great plays, or do you take the lockdown Darrelle Revis type player? And I think that Sauce Gardner gets buoyed by the fact that he plays in New York and he was a first-round pick.
Yeah. And the style of football that they ask him to play, right?
Right.
It's a tough one. The no touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's
a big deal.
That's a big deal.
And he's gone up against some pretty good opposition.
Yeah. I think that one's a toss-up. I think if they pick anybody but Kenneth Walker for the offensive rookie of the year, they're idiots.
I agree. The fact that Walker missed a couple games hurts, but his stats are still there. He's around 1,000 yards from scrimmage. I know that, and I'm pretty sure he has 9 touchdowns.
He buoyed my fantasy team.
There you go.
Yeah. Fantasy, by the way, didn't go well for me this last couple of weeks.
Yeah. This is about the time of year that it starts to go bad for a lot of people.
Yep. I did make it to the championship game, though, in our league.
Yeah.
No, I did not win.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's not over yet.
You finished in second. I finished in third.
Yeah, if my kicker goes off and Joe Burrow and Taj Boyd and McPherson all get hurt in the first quarter, then I got a chance.
So I have a question for you that's fantasy football related, and maybe we'll close the show with this.
Okay. The northwest portion
of the show. I'm in a league this year that is it's my Tar Heels group chat decided to put a couple of leagues together.
Right.
So there was a big money league where people paid $100 to be in it, and then there was a smaller one where it's everybody throw in 20, winner take all, whatever.
Yeah.
So the rules in this league, the roster spots are kind of weird. There's 2 flexes, which I guess I've played a little bit with, but that's kind of some of the point scoring is a little different from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But I've managed to fight my way through this. I'm in the championship game. This is a 12-team league.
Okay.
They split it into 2 divisions.
Right.
The top 2 teams from each division, regardless of record, make the playoffs.
Okay.
1 plays 2, 1 plays 2.
Gotcha.
But here's the weird part. The playoff round, since there's only 4 teams, you only have 2 rounds.
Right.
They are 2 weeks long, and it extends into week 18.
Ugh.
So week 15 and 16 was my first playoff matchup, and this week is the first
2
week of
weeks
my
at a time?
Yeah. So this is where it benefited me.
What?
Because
This
in my
sounds like
last
baseball. This is why I can't get into baseball fantasy because the games are constantly happening.
It's total points, right? So it's not like wins one week over the other. Because in my first playoff round matchup, I was losing by 50 after the first week.
Okay.
And then I came back and won in the second week.
What?
So now I'm in the championship
That would have
game.
worked well for me, actually, in our other leagues, because think about the decisions that happened
Right,
for me.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now
that
I'm in a
happened for
league.
you.
I'm in a championship round. I'm in a championship round.
Way to distance yourself there.
It's like you're in an organization and you push the blame off to somebody else,
Yeah.
but really it's just you.
Yep.
Some of the decisions that were made were questionable.
Yes.
But
Denver's defense being one of them.
I don't understand how that was questionable. Like going into it that way. Anyway, we're not going to get sidetracked by that. I just wanted to discuss with you that I now have a championship game with money on the line that I'll go into it with at least a 40-point lead, but I'm going into week 18 where it's like, how many guys are going to have something to play for? How many teams are going to get up or down early and then rest their best players in the second half?
Yep.
And I'm stressing out about it.
Understandable.
Any advice?
Start
Minshew?
Do you have? Is Minshew? How did that go? By the way, has Philadelphia?
They didn't win.
They lost
That's all I
both
know
of their
for sure.
games.
I don't
the
know
first
how
game
played.
the first game that he played 2 weeks ago, he passed for almost 400 yards, but he did turn the ball over a few times. And then this past week, his stats weren't quite as great, and then they lost again.
Okay. I would say that you need to, if you have younger players, one of the biggest regret I have from this week was I didn't play Isaiah Hodgins. He's a Beaver, but also he's been coming on at the end of the season for the Giants. Mm-hmm. But when you have Lockett and Metcalf, you play Lockett and Metcalf.
How did Lockett and Metcalf do?
They combined for 1 point.
Boy.
Brutal. Hodgins had 10.
Decisions were made.
Yeah. Didn't work out well. Mm-hmm. So I would say if you have players who you think might have things to play for, even if they're on bad teams, then that might be a way to go. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a toughie.
Who does Hodgins play for?
The Giants.
Okay.
And he's been, the last 4 games, he's really come on. And if you watched him in college, you'd be shocked that it took him this long to get his opportunity. Because he was, you know how Oregon State had that string of years where they weren't very good, but they had one receiver who was just ridiculous? He was one of those guys. So I'd recommend going and grabbing him if you could for the last week.
So Rob has texted me and said that the 2-week semi and 2-week final is more common in fantasy football than I think. And you know what?
Is it really? Interesting.
Rob, you are older than me, old guy. And I will assume that you know more than I do about this, but I've been playing fantasy football for 20 years. And I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
How many different
Leagues
have you
have
actually played
yeah.
in, though?
That's a good question.
Kind of a lot, actually, because
really?
Okay.
you know how it pops up where you have different friend groups that are like, hey, do you want to play in this league?
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to play in? So you play in them for a
You
year.
don't say no.
Or 2. And then some years you'll have 5 teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I've played it a lot.
Okay.
Because
I haven't played in many.
Yeah, same here.
Well, we've
I've
we've
generally
had
have
our
one or
league.
two
We need
teams.
someone. Do you think we should do an expansion draft on our keeper league so we can get Andrew and Peyton in?
Yes,
I think we need to.
I am the commissioner, so I can sort of do whatever I want.
Is there anybody that you want to kick out of the league? Should we kick out my brother?
There's several people I'd like to kick out of the league.
Should we just kick out my brother?
Um,
And has Isaac ever won?
no,
I'm throwing Isaac under the bus. Has Isaac ever won?
I believe Isaac won
the
in
league or a game.
The league. Isaac won one of the first couple
Gotcha.
because.
I love Isaac. I would be sad to see him go because he's
Yet
an
you're
easy
trying
win.
to kick him out of our keeper league that we've been doing
Daniel's
together for
busy
20
trying
years.
to claim the basement for himself.
So maybe just an expansion. Maybe just an expansion is what we need.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we in the history of this league, we've only ever had one person leave, and then
I was
you
the
took
replacement.
that spot,
Yep.
That
Yep.
was pretty early on. So now this is
that was second or third year.
yeah. So we've had the same 10 teams in this league for the better part of 20 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And now you're trying to kick out the guy who was the best man at my wedding.
whom I love. You're right.
And
I
are
probably-
related to.
I probably shouldn't. Oh, wait, was Jimmy your best man or Isaac?
No, Isaac was.
Oh, I'm
Isaac
sorry.
was. Yeah, Jimmy was probably in it though,
was
wasn't
in
he? Yeah.
Actually, you know what's funny? My wedding was so long ago, and I was
a
so
long time
young.
ago.
Yeah.
Because I was only 19 when I got married, and I'm old as shit now. Sorry, old as crap.
Old.
Justin.
PG-13 rating. I'm old as crap now. I apologize. That was a bad
Francis
job
says
of
the
me.
assumption that anyone knows more than Shami could be applied to just about anything except North Carolina.
But the funny thing is, I was having a conversation with my wife about our wedding the other day, and
Yeah.
I couldn't remember who all my groomsmen were.
Uh-oh.
Because I was like, I
you were
probably
so
have
young. It was so long ago.
Part of it is because like a lot of I'm still friends with everybody.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I've lost contact with some of these people. And at that time, there could have been, I was 19 years old. There could have been like 20 different guys.
Yeah.
That I could have, picked my 6 or 7 groomsmen or however many I had, which I don't remember.
Oh, no.
And I was trying to look for wedding photos so I could remember who was in my bridal party.
Yes.
Is it still a bridal party if it's the groom's side? Is it
Groomal
the
party.
groomal party?
I think the bridal party
was-
is both the bride and groom's people.
Well,
I think
that's
you're right.
sexist. But I was trying to remember who was in my groomal party, and I couldn't.
Yeah. Well, neither Andrew or I were in it.
Well, you were a baby.
I was.
You were like 16 years old
If
when
that.
I got married.
If
Yeah,
that.
if that.
I remember. Didn't you like throw footballs to your groomal party when they came in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. I don't remember who everybody was. I could definitely tell you who a few of them were, but
Yeah.
I don't remember everyone.
You and I have been in 2 weddings together, though.
What, Jimmy's wedding and
My wedding.
Your wedding.
Yeah. I don't know where you were on the list, like the lineup for my brothers, but
Second, I think I was after. I think I was immediately after.
I'm glad you were that early.
Yeah.
I don't know why you did what you did, but that was your fault. So
Explain it.
you were so it was your fault.
Am I the least likely person to have done this?
Probably.
Because I hate things that are yucky.
Yeah, you and the person.
That's a good point.
You and the guy who was second to last.
Yeah.
But both of you did it.
Yeah.
So when quick story time. So when you're the best man, you try and come up with a little gag to do at some point during the wedding, whatever. Mine for my brother was, instead of giving him the real ring, I gave him a ring pop.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get the wrapper off of the ring pop and without my teeth. So I ended up ripping it off and then popping it in my mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Jimmy's fault.
I'm happy with any blame that's not me.
Wait, did I give it to Jimmy first or you first?
No, you gave it to Jimmy, and then it worked its way down the line after that.
Yeah, so that I popped it in my mouth, and then I gave it to Jimmy, and for some disgusting reason, he popped it in his mouth, and then you asked for it, and you popped it in your mouth, and it went down the
You didn't want to be
line.
left out.
Every single groomsman, there was like 7 or 8 groomsmen, and every single one of them popped it in their mouth.
It's the most disgusting thing ever.
I remember
Totally
that vividly.
disgusting.
It was possibly the greatest wedding
It was
prank
really
I've
funny.
ever been present for.
It was
Everyone was
hilarious.
laughing.
It was hilarious. You don't know how grateful I am that I was the first person.
I'm pretty sure the last person walked back down the aisle with it in his mouth.
You're right, Jordan Bachelor, and he was the last groomsman, but there was an extra bridesmaid, so he kept it the whole time,
Yes,
and then he walked up, popped it in his mouth, and then walked 2 bridesmaids down the aisle. It was a baller move.
Super baller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine my mindset in that moment was something like, this is, because it was just you two. It was just you and Jimmy.
Yeah.
When I got it.
Yep.
So I was like, I've shared so many drinks with these guys. Yeah. Like, how many times have I had a soda and Jimmy or Daniel takes a sip and then I drink it?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Little ring pop action. You just pass it down the line and let everybody else suffer from our germs.
Everybody else suffered for it. That's for sure. Oh my
Because
gosh.
at that, like, the further it goes down the line, if you choose to be the guy that didn't do it,
you
look
peer
like,
pressure.
Yeah.
The peer pressure is
Yeah.
insane. And I wasn't planning on that happening at all. Real quick digression. What happened at my wedding was right before the first kiss, both Andrew and his brother were in my groomal party,
Uh-huh.
and I was marrying their sister.
Yeah.
So right before the first kiss, they both ran up and grabbed me
Yeah.
and like ripped me away.
That was pretty good.
That was a good one.
pretty
too.
good one.
Yeah. I had to like fight my way back through the groomsmen.
Had
Yeah,
to
I think
earn her.
we're like, are we at the point now where we're kind of done being in weddings? How many
I
more
hope
weddings
so.
do we have left?
Dude,
that we
I
could
was
be
in one this year. And I thought I was done being in weddings.
Yeah.
Well, you are the youngest of us.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. But I was quite honored. I was another best man. I was like, still pulling best man status. Let's
I
go.
feel like you earn it. Like you're best man material.
Yeah.
I give you that.
And then I also MC. See, if you ask me to be in your wedding, you're not only getting a groomsman, you're getting a built-in MC for the reception.
I always tell people, if you want to give me a microphone, that's fine, but it's going to be hard to get it away. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Is that it for our
No one
Northwest?
wants to give you a microphone, Justin.
I don't know where this show went.
We had to buy this one
I
ourselves.
think we're wrapping it up for the
Yes.
we're wrapping up the Northwest pod.
So if you're listening and you're interested in our local sports coverage, stay where you are.
Yeah,
because
'cause-
we're going to take a quick 5-minute break.
Finally get to the stuff you want to know about, not our weddings.
And if you're on the YouTubes, you can stay on the YouTubes, and we're going to come right back. But I'm Justin Domashevitz. Daniel Hargrove is here with us. Producer Andrew Gross is here with us as well. This is The Scrimmage. It's brought to you by Ole Penn Real Estate and the law office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz. Thank you for listening, and stay where you are. That music was very ominous.
You're listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Damashevitz.
Hi.
Do a national anthem again? Or?
Do we do 2 national anthems? Can you sing the national anthem backwards? Should we do the second verse of the national anthem?
No, no, and no.
The producer has spoken. This
I don't
is
know.
The Scrimmage. I'm Justin Damashevitz.
Interesting.
Huh.
And where is that band who so vauntingly swore to the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more? There's a question mark there. Their blood has washed out of their foul footsteps population. No refuge could it save the hireling and slave.
Should I be standing with my hand?
Should I take
I don't
off my
know.
hat? From the terror of flight
said
or the
no.
gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth
I thought
wave.
you were going to sing it. You're reading it like a poem.
O'er the land of the free and the home
And the home.
of the...
Andrew?
Brave.
There we go.
Hey,
I
play
almost
ball.
said Cougs.
Okay, yeah. So speaking of that, is it bad that when I played for
Yes.
the Bearcats, okay,
Yep.
Jaden and I think Andrew took from Cougar culture, and every time the home of the brave came, they would go, home of the Bearcats. And I was like,
It seems disrespectful.
are we brave? I don't know about that.
Although in the word brave
No, we're Bearcats. That's why
was
we were
on
fixing it.
Stanford University's list of words that should no longer be used. Did you guys hear about this week?
the word brave?
Yeah. Because
I didn't
it's,
realize that
like,
was this week. I thought it was a
insensitive
couple
to
weeks ago.
Native Americans or something.
It was a very poorly thought out list of words, honestly.
It was so
Shocker.
bad. But also they had, because people were taking it and running with it because it's so ridiculous, the
Yeah.
list of the words that they chose.
Because
They had to say, no, this is just for internal use. Like, we're not saying
Well,
nobody
yeah,
in the
'cause
world
people
is
were-
allowed to use these. It wasn't intended to
People
be
were
distributed
saying
to the
that
world.
it was that they were making a list of words that you couldn't use or that you shouldn't use. They were internally saying on our website we don't want to use these words.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but brave is one of them.
Super badly thought out list, not really an attempt to like a legitimate attempt to control their students or something, but
still.
really
So,
badly,
in a way,
really badly thought out list.
It's bad that Jaden and Andrew were, pretty disrespectful to our country by changing that last word, but maybe they just had foresight
Yeah.
and realized that at some point the word brave would no
really
longer be acceptable.
problematic.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
That is not what I was thinking.
Just throwing this out there, Jamal Adams says that many mentions have been real quiet since yesterday.
Okay.
Jamal Adams, the guy we traded to the Jets.
Sure.
Or from the Jets.
Yeah. But why would his mentions not be quiet?
Oh,
Because-
probably because anytime the Jets play the Seahawks, all the Jets
I
fans are
see.
still salty at him.
There you go. Don't be mad at me because y'all got okay, I'm just quoting. Don't be mad at me because y'all got that ass whooped again.
PG-13. No, both podcasts are officially PG-13.
I know. I'm
The
sorry.
I cursed
However-
in the first one. I apologize.
Yeah.
It slipped. It was an accident. Daniel has now cursed in this one.
Deliberately with forethought.
We got to put the
Hey.
E for explicit on the podcast.
Darn it. Welcome to the local sports portion of the show. I'm Daniel Hargrove.
Let's talk about weddings.
That's Justin Damashevitz. That's Andrew Gross, our producer.
Pax is here too.
If you're listening, you didn't see me pointing at anybody. Thank you to our sponsors, Ole Penn Real Estate and the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz. Justin, shall we?
Local sports roundup.
Boom.
Montesano boys basketball will enter league play on a 2-game winning streak after beating North Beach 57-13. Aberdeen will travel to Chehalis on Tuesday, and Monty will host Tenino on Wednesday.
Tenino. Ocasta's boys basketball team took down Tahola is that what I'm supposed to go? Nope, that's not what I'm supposed to do. There we go. After defeating Aberdeen 59-25 on Wednesday, Montesano's girls basketball team has suffered its second loss of the season on Tuesday, 49-44, at the hands of 4A Olympia. McKinley Dalen stuffed the stat sheet as usual with 24 points, 19 rebounds, and 6 steals. Absolutely ridiculous. Dalen also was stellar against Aberdeen, scoring 28 points and hauling in 7 boards. Bobcat star Maddie Gore, who's amazing, scored 15 points in that game. The Bulldogs will play at Tenino on Tuesday.
I think I messed up the days when I typed that out. I think that was Thursday. Anyway, Acosta's boys back because it says Wednesday and then it says after Wednesday is Tuesday, which also is not correct. So bad job by me. I apologize. Acosta's boys basketball team took down Tahola 71-28 in Westport on Thursday. Mark Lewis led the Wildcats with 14 points. Jaden Lewis scored 15 points for the Chitwins. Acosta, this is really
wait, hold up. Mark Lewis for the Wildcats and Jaden Lewis for the Chitwins.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So probably not brothers because they're playing for different teams? Okay.
But this is really impressive for Acosta. They recorded 17 offensive rebounds and 23 steals and assisted on all 19 of their made field goals. They made cool. 19 field goals. Everyone had an assist. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Tahola's girls basketball team turned the tables on Acosta on Friday night with a 71-30 win. Precious Cross Guns led the Chitwins with 26 points. Mickey Ness led Acosta with 24 points to go along with 14 points to go along with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. I apologize there. Wow, this has been a mess so far.
Montesano's wrestling. Can we start over? No. Montesano's wrestling team tied for second place in the final team standings of the Rock Tournament on Thursday at Vashon High School. Cole Eckerson, who, by the way, we've been hassled on Instagram about not giving Cole Eckerson Athlete of the Week. We will see if he earns Athlete of the Week later. Cole Eckerson and Mateo Sanchez each won their weight class, and Montesano got second place finishes from Gage Stutzman and Caleb Ames. Are we rusty?
It's okay, guys. It's been a while.
It's almost like we took a break or something. Yeah. Hoke Williams girls basketball team beat Morton White Pass, otherwise known as MWP, 61-45 on Wednesday at the Raymond Holiday Classic. Happy holidays, Morton White Pass. Chloe Kennedy led the way for the Grizzlies with 22 points and only 18 rebounds. I say only because she is a rebounding fiend.
Maniac. Hoke Williams boys basketball team rode a 30-point performance by Michael Lorton Watkins, otherwise known as MLW.
Should we shorten it to ML Dub?
ML Dub.
Let's shorten it to ML Dub.
ML Dub scored 30 and Hoke Williams won 80-47 over Raymond in Raymond as a part of that Raymond Holiday Classic. That was on Tuesday. Owen McNeil added 18 points, and Justice Stankovic scored 11 for the Grizzlies. And we struggled through that, and I apologize, but that will do it for the local sports roundup. And I also would like to mention that winter sports season is particularly chaotic.
Yes.
And I can guarantee you there was stuff that happened over the last week or so that was not in this roundup.
Yep.
I apologize. I got everything in that I could. If you want to make sure that something is discussed or mentioned on this show, we exist to recognize achievement of local athletes.
Yep.
So if you tell us that somebody did something, we will inform the public.
Yes.
So if there's something you think, oh, they missed that, let us know.
Yes.
We get on our Facebook, get on our Twitter, Instagram, email us, thescrimmage@gmail.com.
Yep.
We really want to report those things.
Andrew's got chocolate.
Dogs can't have chocolate. Make sure Pax doesn't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
I think we have so many nominations for Athlete of the Week. So we've been off for 3 weeks for those of you who haven't been paying attention.
Athlete of the 3 weeks.
And
Is it
we
Athlete
had
of the month?
Well, no, because we had the first week that we were off, we did an Athlete of the Week. It was Carson Freeman. She scored 37 points and had a massive game. But now we have 2 weeks worth of stuff that we have to go over and pick an Athlete of the Week. And spoiler alert, Carson Freeman's in there again because she broke the school record by scoring 45 points.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points, Cotton.
I think she's a sophomore.
You know what's funny is I think you're right. I think she is a sophomore, and I'm pretty sure this is her 3rd year on varsity.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right, because in 2020, when she was in 8th grade, she got to play. That's right. I think she was all league when she wasn't a high schooler yet.
It's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how good she is.
So we're going to go through all of the nominations, and we're going to talk a little bit about the games that we were at. Daniel, you were at a Monty girls game against Tumwater. I've been at every Monty boys game except for when they were in Seaside because my son plays for the team.
Why didn't you go to Seaside?
Work got in the way. Work gets in the way of everything I want to do.
Stupid work.
Yeah.
I say we don't do that anymore.
I had to love it. I love it. I had to work all 3 of the days they were in Seaside.
Oh,
so we are going to get to like the whole list of nominees, and there's a ton of them. We'll discuss it. We'll name 2 athletes of the week. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
At Olipen Real Estate, we have solidified our foundation on 4 core values. First, we continuously focus on growing our knowledge in the market and in our practices to bring the highest level of competency to our clients. Second, we provide a high level of integrity, compassion, and kindness in every aspect of our business. Third, we put the human element above business through humor, enthusiasm, and patience. And last but not least, we proactively respond to the needs of our clients. Our mission is to create a personal real estate experience, one person and one home at a time. With Olipen, it's personal.
Do we personally need to make new commercials?
Maybe, but I can't stop laughing because during the break, if you were listening, you heard Daniel notice that Andrew had chocolate.
Yes.
During the break, Andrew gave Daniel the smallest little smackerel of chocolate I can imagine. Daniel looked like Andrew had just proposed marriage, and he was so excited. The look on his face was like he opened up a PS5 on Christmas morning.
It was delicious, by the way.
Glad you enjoyed it. We do probably need updates for our commercials.
Yeah.
Thanks to our sponsors, Olipen Real Estate and the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this because I want to talk about... Well, first, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on Montesano's girls game.
Yeah.
You were in Tumwater for that. It was during the bad weather at the end of that week.
Oh, my gosh.
Glad you made it home safely.
That was terrifying.
But Montesano came out with a win in a cross-class game over a Tumwater squad that's a 2A team.
And a Tumwater team that did graduate a ton of people from the previous year when they were really, really good. Mm-hmm. But still a Tumwater team that's good, right? You know, like this is a program that's good. And they had one player who was really good. And Monty just kind of controlled the game the entire way. And for the second time this season, I watched a team box and won a player because they are definitely the dominant player of the team, right? So I covered a Hoquiam game earlier this year where, gosh, who were they playing? That's really weird. I can't even think of who they were playing at the time, but Michael Lorton Watkins was box and won the whole game. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard when who's our second option? How do we work this out? How do we attack this very unique zone? McKinley Dalen was also boxed and won the vast majority of the Tumwater game. And their way to combat that was, thankfully for Montesano, Tumwater is not very tall. So McKinley's little sister, Evangeline, or Jilly, mm-hmm. to make it easier, was able to dominate when they got the ball down to her in the post. So she had a very good game. They just controlled the game. 16 points. Excellent game. Their defense, as you know, is excellent when you got Jaden King Vanaprom, and you got Stanfield, you got Michaela Stanfield, you got McKinley Dalen down low, you got Evangeline Dalen down low, Jordan King, is it? No, Jordan. Gosh, why am I forgetting their names? I'm really sorry. I've only covered them once so far this year, but I love all these kids. But for some reason, my brain's blanking right now. But they played so well on defense that Tumwater really just didn't have anything to answer with. They didn't have an answer on offense. So, really fun team to watch. I think as McKinley gets more and more comfortable, and it's funny to see because she has these stats, right, where we just did the local sports roundup where she had a game with 28 points. And yet I say when she gets more comfortable with her knee that was repaired, she'll just get more and more dominant. She already has 28 points.
And 24. So the last 2 games she scored 28 and 24.
So that's the type of player she is I still expect more from her because she's that good.
Yeah.
So, and yet you also add in, it seems like this team has had this great core of defense for the last, 4 years. And then they have these different ages of offense that are coming alongside it. So last year, or 2 years ago, it was Zoe Leisherness, Paige Leisherness, and McKinley Dalen. Last year, it was Paige Leisherness and McKinley Dalen, and then Michaela Stanfield started to step in. And this year, it's McKinley Dalen and Michaela Stanfield and Evangeline Dalen who are starting to step in. And around that is this core of defenders with King and Prom, and I'm blanking.
Is there a Young on this team?
Yes. No. Oh, wait. Yes, there is, but she was out that last game due to illness or something,
Gotcha.
I think. So, yeah, Maya Young will be there. So there's this core of, ridiculous defenders mixed in with these, extremely long athletic scorers. And this is, yet again, another Monty team that I would...
Jordan Carr?
Carr. Thank you. Jordan Carr. Another team that I think will have a very fun, successful, deep state playoff run.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the defense in that game because the final score of that game was 37-21.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy that
Yeah.
you hold a team that's in a higher classification than you, that has been a very successful team in recent years. You hold them to 21 points.
Yeah.
And I think that, if I remember correctly, they didn't have double digits in any quarter. It was 5-5, 6-5 or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, so pretty crazy. Montesano girls are, in pretty much every different top 10 state ranking, you'll find them somewhere in there, whether it's 2 or 7 or 9 or whatever. They're in there.
And they've suffered at least one, if not 2 losses.
2, they have 2.
They have 2 losses, and one was to Nooksack Valley, which is one of those teams which is extremely highly regarded.
Well, they lost to Olympia.
Yeah, and Olympia is a 4A school.
4A school, and they barely lost. They lost by 5 points.
Yeah, so this is a squad. This is a good squad.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for them. Tumwater had this one girl who was everywhere. I would be shocked if she had under 10 steals and under 10 rebounds, and yet she was probably... They listed her at 5'4", and is one of those players where I'm like, you're 5'2" on a good day. And yet she probably led her team in rebounds. So it was one of those type of players that you really just love to watch.
Yeah.
Sadly for Tumwater, not the most polished scorer. So there was even times where she would get a steal and a breakaway and not hit the lane. So while she was easily their best player, didn't have the offensive production to really keep things close as Monty dominated that game.
I think it's my rule for basketball watching is the shortest, stockiest starter on the floor is the most fun to watch.
And it doesn't even have to be stockiest. Just
Fair,
shortest.
fair.
But I
Shortest,
like your theory there because
usually
remember
if you're the same thickness as everyone else, if you're shorter, you look stocky. But yeah.
But Andrew's theory is if you're one of the best players on the floor and you're 5'2" against a bunch of giants, because basketball is normally a tall person's sport, then you're better even though your stats might just compare.
And also you're just the most fun to watch.
That's true. It's the...
If you can get onto a starting 5 with the disadvantage of being short,
Yeah.
you're fun.
I think we first came up with this theory when we were watching Katie Witten play for La Center.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
you're
was
right.
trying to remember
Yeah.
her name. I was trying to remember her name because that was like, Daniel, you and I did broadcasts for so many playoffs.
Yes.
And we ended up seeing Katie Witten repeatedly through all these different playoffs for 1A girls. And she was like 5'0",
If that.
if that, but she just controlled the entire game.
Yep.
This was several years ago
Yeah.
now, so we're aging ourselves a little bit. But that was like the initial, like what you described, that was Katie Witten.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except for she was also a scorer too.
Yes.
So like,
right.
anyway.
And she was the first person that I ever remember seeing with the KT tape on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked like she was literally being held together by tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a Hoquiam player also that fit this really well.
Boys or girls?
Jared
Oh, Jared
Steen
Steen was.
was pretty short.
Yeah, Jared was
and
pretty short.
Wait a
just
minute, Jared's about
athletic
my
as
height.
heck.
Yeah.
Weird.
Ronquillo was pretty short too,
Yeah.
but he
I
was
think it was,
so
it
stinking
was Steen
explosive.
that I remember
Yeah.
thinking, dude, this dude's faster and stronger than anybody else on the floor and
Yeah.
like 6 inches shorter.
Yeah. And when I first met Jared, he was in 8th grade on a baseball field because baseball was his best sport. And I called him Mini Mike Trout.
Do you remember when he was 14 and he played in our adult flag football tournament thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was one of the best players.
Yeah, he was a
there.
pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
So as a closing thought, I'm glad that you mentioned the defense for Montesano girls. I think it's notable, and we can bring up a Bobcat name here, because when Monty beat Aberdeen last week, they held Maddie Gore to 15 points.
Which is impressive. And you don't normally think that's impressive. You held him to 15 points.
But we've watched
Maddie
score 40.
Yeah, Maddie's real good.
Yeah. So, and that was a big win. They beat Aberdeen 59-25, and Gore scored 15 of their points. So the fact that they were able to hold her down and hold the Bobcats down, and Aberdeen girls have had a really good start to their year.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we want to start getting into the nominations? I think we might have just had another one come in.
Oh, let's talk real briefly about the Montesano Aberdeen boys basketball game from Friday.
Yes, you were there.
I was there. And, full disclosure, if people feel like we cover too much Monty, partly it's because, hey, we were only at 2 games. They were both Monty games. But this one has Aberdeen in it. And my son plays for Montesano, so I'll be at all those games.
And the next game I will be at is Hoquiam Elma, I believe, which is Nimi's return to Elma.
There you go. I like
be
it.
a fun one. Yep.
And you'll get a chance to watch ML Dub.
ML Dub!
Let's see if he can drop 30 again. But Montesano's boys had a really rough start to the year. They only won 1 game out of their first 7. So the North Beach win, and then 2 days later beating Aberdeen, leads them into league play on a 2-game win streak, which is a really big deal. I actually have a couple of observations about Aberdeen. I know, first off, they have a player who has been one of their primary scorers, Manny Garcia, who didn't play. I think I heard it was because of illness, but I don't exactly know. Baylor Ainsworth, who I've been watching play against my kid and his friends for the last 5 years, and I already know he can shoot.
Yeah, he's a
he
good
scored
player.
12 points for Aberdeen, got really hot in the second half, and also just played a ton of minutes, and you could tell he just gave it everything he had. Cale Goings.
Yeah.
Cale's one knee. Cale had one knee in football season, and he came back and played.
Yep.
Can we confirm it was ACL, or are we still speculating it was ACL?
Well, I talked to him yesterday.
Okay.
Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked him what he's going to have to be repaired, and I won't get into all of the details, but ACL was one of the things that he said he was going to have a new ACL, and then there was multiple other things.
So he played football with a chonky knee brace.
Yeah.
He's playing basketball with a slim knee brace.
Interesting. Wow.
It's a brace, and it's long, but it's not fat.
Wow.
And Cale plays basketball harder on one knee than almost anybody does with a fully healthy body.
Yep.
That guy, I'm not, without making a comment on skill level, talent level, I mean, he did foul out in the game. He's really aggressive, but that kid is 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yep.
You will never have to worry about whether Cale Goings is giving you effort on the basketball court.
Right.
And I'm like, as far as like impact on the game, I mean, Montesano won. I don't even remember if he scored. I was like blown away, just kind of distracted watching him on defense because it's incredible what he's doing on one leg. Yeah. He's a warrior. The kid's a warrior.
Absolutely. I like I said, I saw him yesterday and I was like, because I don't know. I've never been through these injuries.
Yeah.
I've had ankle injuries.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've had every other injury.
But, after watching McKinley the year before playing a torn ACL in the state tournament and then seeing what Cale's doing now, I'm like, so I had to ask him. I was like, does it hurt? And he's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, adrenaline plays a big part of it, but after the game, it's not fun. And I was like, wow. Yeah. Like, it is so impressive.
So, so for Aberdeen, Baylor, Cale, those were the guys that really stood out to me. Yeah. I think for Montesano, I already mentioned that winning this game was a really big deal. I think we're kind of seeing what Tice Peterson is going to be fully capable of. Mm-hmm. In a loss last week, he scored 27 against Raymond, shot exceptionally well. He then scored, I believe it was 14 in the loss to Columbia White Salmon, or 17, something in that range. When Monty played North Beach, he only scored 12, but he pretty much sat the whole second half because the game was so well in hand. Mm-hmm. And then came back with a really good performance against Aberdeen, particularly in the second half, and coming out leading the team with 19 points. We have a whole bunch of kids on our certified bucket getter watch list.
Yes, we do.
We got about a half dozen of them, and he is one of them.
And yet we still only have 2.
And you know what? This is like, it's an elite level accomplishment.
Yeah.
So if there are like 6 or 7 kids on the watch list, probably 1 or 2 of them is going to get actually certified.
Yep.
But
it's a big
Tice
deal.
Scores at all levels.
Yep.
He has the ability to create his own shot. He scores with volume, and at this point, he's been scoring consistently.
That's the thing, is the consistency.
Yep. You got to have those 4. That's the criteria.
Yep.
Create your own shot, score at all levels, score with volume, score consistently.
Yep.
And if you can do that, you can earn a certified bucket getter certification from us. Camden Taylor has really stepped up for Montesano as like a primary post player. He led the team with 17 points against North Beach. He had another 8 or so, I think, in the Aberdeen game. I think you're just seeing also there's 2 senior guards for Montesano, Trent Adams and Christian Olsen. And while the performance hasn't been there all year, we're seeing the best version of those guys right now, which leading into league play is kind of exactly what you wanted. First year with a new head coach, you got new systems, you got a whole new lineup. It's been a really good stretch for Montesano the last couple games, and what's going to be probably a pretty tough game against Tenino on Wednesday.
So what you've seen in transitive properties, how are you feeling about the league setting up this year, the 1A Evergreen Boys League?
I think it's pretty...
Because the girls' league is pretty much, again, Monty and everybody else.
I'd say it's really up in the air. Many people would have definitely thought that Eatonville would be the best team going in, as did several people that I spoke to. They had a bad start. I think they lost 3 of their first 4 games, if I'm remembering correctly, including one to Morton White Pass, which is a B school.
Mm-hmm. But they're usually pretty good at basketball.
They're good. So I don't...
Hoquiam, by the way, the game that I watched was Willapa Valley at Hoquiam.
Okay.
And Willapa Valley ended up coming up with a win, and apparently those 2 teams have been playing against those age groups have been playing against each other since like 4th grade.
Right.
So,
well, and if you look probably like at Hoquiam's schedule as a whole, they haven't played the toughest schedule. Mm-hmm. But if you use transitive property, Raymond beat Montesano. Hoquiam crushed Raymond. Scored 80 points on him.
Wow.
So I think it's super up in the air because I don't think the Montesano team that you're seeing now is necessarily the same team that you were seeing at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. But also, if they get into a game where they have to score 80 points to win, I'm not sure if they have the depth of scorers to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Their defense is really good, and they've held good teams to fairly low point totals throughout the year. So I don't think a lot of teams are going to score 80 points on them. But I think as far as like just looking at the general picture of the boys 1A league, it feels just totally wide open to me. I feel like every team has had good performances and bad performances. You know, if you wanted to pick a front runner, I might throw Hoquiam out there as potentially the best team just because of what they've accomplished and how I think how their first year coach Jeff Nemi is kind of putting the pieces together. You got Michael Lorton Watkins scoring a lot of points. Owen McNeil stepping up in a scoring role. Justice Stankovic was good last year. He's continuing to be good. The name I've been really happy to hear is Jake Templer. I had a chance to briefly talk to their coach Jeff Nemi last week, and he said, "Man, I feel like every time I look at the stats at the end of the game, Jake Templer has 6 or 7 steals.
That's a ton.
So when you have guys who can put the ball in the hoop, to have another guy who can go out there and create havoc on the defensive end, especially when you're a team like Hoquiam that's going to want to run and score in transition, that's a really big deal to have a guy who can force turnovers like that. Yeah. As Lorton Watkins is also adept at doing.
Yes.
So
and also Tiggy is adept at doing.
Right.
He is also someone who forces a lot of turnovers.
Right.
So it seems like they have the players that fit into the style to work with each other.
Right.
Tiggy being Timmy Higgins. Of
Francis says
Everyone
that
knows that.
Raymond beat to 902.
Interesting. So
I don't think the Raymond boys team is bad. I think they're pretty good.
I think that Hoquiam, when they're firing, like if they're a team that if they can put up 60, 70, 80 points, that's when they're like hitting all their shots and then all of a sudden teams are overwhelmed.
Right.
You know, if Michael Lorton Watkins, if ML Dub is putting up 30, then you're hosed.
Right.
If you can find a way to hold him down, which Willapa Valley has played them for ages, and I talked to their coach and he was like, yeah, these kids have played against Michael since he was, in 3rd, 4th grade. So we have our plan that we're going to try and execute and hopefully it works. And it did that night. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting.
Last year when one of the games that Monty played Hoquiam, they ran a defensive plan on ML Dub that worked pretty well. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if they'd be able to duplicate something like that. I always think about like some of the wisdom that was passed down to me from all the years that we've played rec ball, we've played with all age ranges, and there was one guy that was kind of an older guy that played on our team. Mm-hmm. It was before I think you and I were playing together. It was a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
And he told me that the biggest key in basketball and the only way we were going to win is if everybody understood their skill set and what their role was and executed it. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't have guys who should be playing defense and rebounding, chucking threes.
Yep.
We shouldn't have...
seem like basketball specific.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
That seems very true about literally everything.
Yeah.
But this guy was bold enough to tell me, like, hey, your job, your role, the way you're going to best help the team is if you go hang out in that corner over there, and then if somebody drives, they can kick it to you and you can hit a 3. And then every time somebody shoots, you crash the boards.
Yep.
Especially if you're on the weak side on the offensive glass, you crash the boards because you're going to help us by hitting jumpers and getting rebounds. And I always think about that, like in basketball, and like Andrew pointed out, it's in all sports. But in basketball, everybody's kind of doing the same thing. Like everybody plays defense, everybody shoots and passes and whatever.
Yeah.
So if everybody can accept what their role is, and I think the thing with this Hoquiam team is you have a puzzle of players who fit together really well, mm-hmm. so it could turn into something really good if they can, stay within their roles.
Yeah.
Ryan Watkins says that Jake is averaging 8 steals a game.
That's insane.
That's bonkers. I love watching Jake play. And I love that Jake stepped in football and he wasn't expected to be one of the starting running backs and was like, Coach McMillan was like, no, you're going to be a running back. And then worked him in to be a very successful running back for them. And the way he plays basketball feels like he knows his role. And, I mean, the fact that he's averaging 8 steals a game just shows that he's executing it very well.
He was such a good running back in football that he earned the highest honor possible, and he was the Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week one week when he scored 4 touchdowns.
Absolutely. Okay, is it time to get into our
let's do it.
Extremely long list of Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week nominations? And are we doing 2?
We're going to do 2.
That's going to help us, but not much.
No, because there's a lot.
This is ridiculous.
The first one on the list, because Instagram will not leave me alone.
Nope.
And I don't want to say these are burner accounts, but like, you know, when there's an account that doesn't have a lot of followers,
Social media
and it's
pressure
following a lot of
works on Justin people.
It really
Keep
does.
It up.
Create as many burner accounts as possible and keep commenting.
Keep following our accounts with burner accounts.
Cole Eckerson of Montesano Wrestling is undefeated on the season,
Wow.
17-0. In this past tournament, he beat the number 3 wrestler in the state in the final, and has just continued at absolute domination throughout the season. Mateo Sanchez for Montesano has now won his last 2 tournaments in his weight class. We got a lot of Montesano in here.
Shocker.
Tice Peterson was nominated for Montesano boys basketball. His last 3 performances were 17, 12, and 19 points. Those were all last week. If you go back to the previous week when we didn't have Athlete of the Week, he scored 27 in that loss to Raymond. So Tice is in there as well. McKinley Dalen, who I didn't get a nomination for, but I plugged in because after I read her stats from this past week, pretty incredible for Montesano girls basketball. We got ML Dub.
Yep.
The stats that were sent to us, which is over the last 4 games for Michael Lorton Watkins of Hoquiam boys basketball, 23.2 points per game, 5 assists per game, 4.5 steals per game, and they were all 4 wins.
It's pretty
for
good.
Hoquiam.
Yep.
We got Carson Freeman looking for the repeat. She was our last Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week when she scored 37 and had a bunch of other stats in that game.
Yeah.
I think 12 rebounds and 7 steals or something
stupid,
like that.
yeah.
She scored 45 points.
She broke Kira's record.
She broke the record, the program record for points in a game with 45. She also had 5 steals in that game. We got a nomination for Maribel Mazariegos, who is a Hoquiam freshman girls wrestler. She's placed in every tournament this season, and I was also told that she missed the first 2 weeks of practice because of illness and missed time with a concussion, and so she's been like playing from behind all season, but even as a freshman, been placing in every tournament.
And knowing that family, not surprising that she's really good.
Exactly. And then the last 2, we got one for Zayden Gonzalez, who is a Monty Mad Dog youth wrestler who is playing 2 weight classes up for Monty Mad Dogs.
How do
and
you
has
do
still
that?
been winning.
Wait.
You can play up as many weight classes as you want.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but like if the team is like, oh, we don't have anybody in this weight class, they can play somebody up, and he's still been performing really well.
You skipped one.
Yeah, I was coming to it.
Oh, okay.
Last one. Andrew, you want to do this one?
No. I don't know where we're at. I'm sorry, I'm been distracted.
It's Jalen.
Oh, Jalen was awesome.
Yeah. Jalen Sackrider is playing for Evergreen University. Is it university?
College. It's Evergreen State College.
And she's been doing really well. And you actually you got to go watch her play.
Yeah,
She's
I
an
went and watched her
Elma
play.
alum, in case people don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, people remember.
Okay.
No, she had a huge game against Corbin College from Oregon. And yeah. Do you remember any of the stats?
I don't remember any of the stats off the top of the head.
I can look them up because they were in our group chat.
Okay.
So
also, it's been good to see Kira Gardner get into the rotation at Wazoo. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, since we're there, I've got that image right in front of me. I was looking up Kira Gardner because I was trying to figure out how many minutes she's playing for Wazoo.
Yeah.
She obviously is the girl from Raymond who Carson Freeman just broke her record for points in a game.
Yep.
She, over the last 4 games, has played 13, 18, 6, and 10 minutes. So she's worked her way into the rotation. In one of those games, she scored 9 points. In one of them, she scored 10. So she's definitely figuring out a way to get on the floor for the Cougars. Also, 3 of those games were wins for Wazoo.
Nice.
So we will be following Kira Gardner to see how she does. I've got 3 for 5 for Jalen. 3 for 5 on 3-pointers. Led the team with 7 rebounds and had a block. And I think you said she had 15 points? 15 points.
Yeah, that's right. She also played all 40 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
All 40 minutes. She did not come out at all. The team's really low on people. I think 4 people played over 35 minutes, but she was the only one that had no breaks at all.
That's crazy. We also got a late nomination, I think.
Okay.
Ian sent in Valley, Caitlin Gwynn.
Did he give you any more information?
Nope, that was it. Listen, Valley, Caitlin Gwynn.
You know what? I'll be honest. There is so much basketball going on right now that I was trying to go through the roundups. Thank you, Daily World, for doing a pretty good job
Yes.
of keeping us updated on what's going on. I was trying to go through all the roundups, and I was in such a hurry that if a team lost, I was
just kind of moved on.
moving on, unless there was like something really notable, like somebody scored 35 points in a loss. So it's very possible that I could have missed something that happened in Willapa Valley basketball, and I apologize for that.
Sorry, that was my work phone.
Do you need to take that?
No, because it was an alarm I sent.
Okay.
So, not a phone call. It was an alarm.
Okay.
Something I need to do when we're done.
Oh, okay. Ian says he was reminding us of a game that you called, and she was a good small player.
Oh, yeah. Caitlin Gwynn was really good. Yes. Yeah, and I should have...
Thank you.
I was
Ian.
going to say, there's another Caitlin Gwynn. Like, I was legitimately confused that there was another Caitlin Gwynn because I actually played with Caitlin's older brother, Drew. Like, my whole life, we grew up playing sports together, and his little sister, Caitlin, was a really good small player. Yes. Sorry, Ian, about that. How in the world are we going to pick 2 players out of this mess?
So either we do it democratically, or you pick one, I pick one. We can either vote on them.
I think Cole needs to be one.
Okay.
And that carries more weight because it's me voting for a Monty player.
Okay.
So I think Cole needs to be one.
This is tough. So Cole Eckerson's going to be an Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week. And to me, that was the one to me that would have been like, definitely yes.
Yeah. Then you got, to me, it's between McKinley, ML Dub. God, Carson set a freaking school record. She set a school record.
The nomination for Carson that came into us literally said, duh.
And yeah. And she didn't like break a school record of like somebody who's not good. She broke a school record of somebody who's playing Division I basketball.
Does it change it that they lost the game?
They lost?
Yeah.
Who'd they lose to?
Somebody really good. It was a state ranked team, but I don't remember who.
That almost makes it better.
Yeah. She also had 5 steals in that game.
This is brutal.
When that happened, when she dropped 45, we got a message on our Instagram from one of our only 2 actual certified bucket getters, Trey Seidel, sent us a message that said, hey, clear some space on the mantle. Carson Freeman's coming for that certified bucket getter award.
Is it just me, or do I feel like that carries extra weight?
It 100% carries extra weight.
When you're one of 2 certified bucket getters,
you have a little extra pull.
You have some sway.
Yeah.
So in my mind, this is my recommendation. I motion that we give our Ole Penn Real Estate Athletes of the Week to Cole Eckerson, and even though it's 2 weeks in a row, Carson Freeman. She set a school record, breaking Kira Gardner's record. Those are my 2 nominations. That is where I'm going.
I second the motion. Should we put it to a vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have
Obvious
a majority.
motion passes.
All right. There it is.
That's the most official thing we've ever done.
We know how to
Absolutely.
avoid individual responsibility over here.
Like literally ever.
Yeah.
That was literally the most official thing we've ever done.
That was more official than when we decided to become a podcast.
Agreed. And we filled out legal paperwork.
Yeah, we did. So congratulations
Eventually.
to Cole Eckerson, who is undefeated so far this year. He's 17-0 on the season. He beat the number 3 wrestler in the state, so meaning I got to assume that person's not going to be number 3 anymore, and Cole Eckerson's going to be working his way up. Also to Carson Freeman, who's been an absolute ridiculous scorer so far for the Raymond Seagulls. You are Ole Penn Real Estate Athletes of the Week. And again, Carson breaking the school record, 45 points, also adding 5 steals in that game. Thank you so much for all of your nominations. So many great ones. Mateo Sanchez also on this list. Tice Peterson, Michael Lorton Watkins, who we're now going to call him ML Dub. That's always a good sign when you have a good nickname.
That Hoquiam boys team is leading the league in nicknames right now.
It is.
We got
That's
Tiggy,
true.
we got ML Dub. We got to come up with some more.
Yeah. Maybe I needed to start calling Justice Stankovic, just call him Stank.
Stanky.
Just Stank.
Stanky. That was a stanky shot, stank.
Just stanked. Maribel Mazaregos, Jalen Sackrider, and Zayden Gonzalez. Gonzalez?
Yeah.
Okay. So, stacked list. Are we finally done?
Yeah, we're done.
Is that what it is?
It's over. I'm
Man.
exhausted.
Do you feel that relief
Yeah.
after all that stress?
There was
over
a lot of stress over who to
This
pick
show
there.
is so stressful. Don't know how we do it week after week, except for when we take 3 weeks off.
Yep. So, for my co-host, Justin, I said a bad word in the first part of the show, Damashevitz.
And my co-host Daniel, the Ring Pop Licker, who also said a bad word in the second part of the show, Hargrove.
And Andrew, the doler out of delicious, delicious chocolate. You've been listening to The Scrimmage.
Sounded so sexual.